And welcome to episode 81 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site. And I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing this week, Todd?
I'm good this week.
Yeah, the excitement is over. The embargo lifted yesterday for the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge.
Mm-hmm.
And although, thanks to T-Mobile, I know. Have we heard how those shipped early?
No, but I guess it happened last year. And for those who don't know, we were talking about the S7 last week on the podcast. And what happened is we had devices under embargo. I have the Verizon one right here that were sent from Samsung, and we couldn't talk about them. But the T-Mobile devices were shipping, so like consumers had them. Consumers had the experience, and I guess we could have bought one from T-Mobile. And had it early, but we were under embargo, so we couldn't say anything about like these devices, what we really thought until the other day. And the good news is they're awesome. We published a lot of reviews, and actually, speaking of early, it doesn't technically launch until March 11th, and my AT&T one came yesterday, so you might be getting yours early as well if you did pre-order them, which is nice. Also, the pre-orders, I think you still have time too. You can register to get the free Gear VR if you buy a phone, which is $100 value, but
yeah, it's free. It's free.
Yeah,
but and that's what a little inside baseball for everyone. So yes, we did have the devices last week during the show, but we weren't allowed to discuss them. Mm-hmm. And we're good boys here. We always try to follow every embargo, although I will fully admit every once in a while it gets confused. Wait, what time zone are you talking in? Wait, what? Oh, no, that's not okay. Different time zone. Okay. Right. But so we always follow embargoes. So it was painful to watch all these videos going up.
Yeah, people with their phones, they were posting. Like, we try to do when these phones, when they run, like when the embargo lifts and we have a review, we try to get like as many interesting articles as we can out. So we want to do like camera comparison articles so you guys can see that, and like, I don't know, fun ones, right? Like maybe swimming in the water or underwater and stuff like that. But the thing is, those were already all done this year. So it was like, and we'd already covered like those, sourcing other people, not ourselves. And we're just like, oh, so now we can't really do it. But we did. Roy went to Harry Potter Land, or whatever it's actually called, Universal, which I thought was great. So we got, it was a unique photo comparison around Hogwarts and stuff. They did a really good job at that. But
for those that don't know, Roy's wife works at Disneyland, so Roy can get into Disneyland anytime he wants. And I've always said that we should just do every photo post as Disneyland.
We've done a couple in the. As a matter of fact, I think we did S5 or S6 maybe.
Yeah, actually, I was there for that one because we had just got them, so we took them. We went one afternoon. We took them with us when we were shooting. Yeah, I mean, really, is there a better place to do sample photos?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, when you have a compelling subject instead of just like around my apartment and stuff. I don't go outside. I was kidding.
I've mentioned before on this show, I live on a fairly large piece of property. I've gone as long as 2 weeks without leaving the property.
Yeah, I remember.
It's just like, why? Amazon brings me everything I need. But
yeah, and like I live in an apartment building, and with these days with Fresh Direct and stuff. I mean, I guess we're going on a tangent, but it's about tech with Fresh Direct and Amazon Fresh and all these things. Like the groceries are delivered seamless, the food's delivered. There's a gym in the building. Like I could go many days. I think I've gone a week without leaving the apartment building, which it's scary. Don't repeat that, people.
They're actually in Judge Dredd comic books in the mega city. People live in mega blocks, and they're multi-100-story apartment buildings, essentially. And the story goes that there are some people that have never left their mega block.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so I mean, so whenever I hear someone say, "Oh, I haven't left my apartment building in a week," I'm like, "Oh God, we're heading into Judge Dredd."
Yeah, there are like planned, futuristic communities with like a whole forest on the roof of the buildings and parks and like all these kinds of where you could see that becoming reality. We've changed the topic of this podcast already.
I was just going to I was just waiting for you to finish. I was going to go. So, and this relates to the Galaxy S7.
Yeah. You know what? Okay, here's something about the Galaxy S7 people might not know, or Galaxy in general, the brand. I was at dinner with Samsung in Barcelona, and we were all talking. I was talking to Roger Chang at CNET, who, if you've watched any of the T-Mobile press conferences, John Ledger likes to call him out all the time. Like, hey, Roger. And we were sitting next to each other, and he's was on a trip to Korea, I guess, with Samsung or something. Anyway, they have like whole Galaxy branded clothing lines and everything there. I didn't know about. They have suits, like Galaxy suits, and apparently they're very nice suits, like Brooks Brothers quality. That was being told, and like all kinds of other branding.
At first that surprises me, but maybe that's just something that happens in Asia. Because I mean, in Japan, you'll be shocked. Oh, this company that runs this chain of convenience stores also owns this mobile company, and then they branch off into the weirdest things.
Yeah,
but the idea of walking the red carpet. Who are you wearing? Oh, I'm wearing Galaxy.
I'm wearing Galaxy by Samsung.
Galaxy by Samsung. Very odd, but okay. I wonder if there's annual iterations.
Yeah, like Galaxy Suit 2.0, 3.0. Galaxy and like you know what they did say though? They did say like they have like NFC and stuff like that, so they're like tech.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, somebody was telling me that too. So I forget what it was, but it's like in the fiber, sort of like what Google was introducing last year, like in their whatever their top secret division is called now, which is now part of Alphabet. I don't know, whatever.
I just want to see somebody go, oh wait, my suit's updating.
Yeah, right. Well, technically, I guess you could.
My suit is downloading new firmware. Just a moment, I'll be ready to go for dinner.
Yeah, the first thing that crossed my mind was like, oh, so I guess if you had a handshake, like you could exchange contact information, which is stupid, but that's what crossed my mind. Like I don't know.
You think about it. Oh, wow, this is the show of tangents.
Yeah.
Think about it. Yeah, we're living in the the 21st century, and we're surrounded by technology. What is one thing I always put on the CES list? Don't forget to bring business cards.
Yep.
Why are we still attached to these little pieces of cardboard?
Yeah, it's weird. And they get lost and stuff now, and you're like, oh, where did I put that? That's why I always try to like just send an email to the people I meet so that I have it there, and then I can get rid of the business card.
Yeah, I did that after you went to Toy Fair. I emailed everybody that you gave me contact info for, just to get us in there for sure. But very odd. So Galaxy S7, Galaxy S7 Edge. I have to ask you the big question. And for folks that don't know, we separated who wrote the which review, who filmed which video. For you personally, which one do you prefer?
The Edge. I bought the Edge, so here's mine. Here's the review unit. But I bought it at like when we were at Mobile World Congress. Actually, the pre-orders open the next day. Excuse me. Pre-orders open the next day, so I bought it on February 23rd. Just arrived yesterday. For me, it was I liked the S6 Edge Plus, the bigger one, so much, but I think that's like 0.2 inches larger than this, so 5.7 inch. It was just kind of cumbersome, but gorgeous. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm super excited for the S7 Edge, and it's just slightly more, rounded. I don't know. Everything just feels like it came together in this phone. It's the best of both worlds. Like, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's got the bigger battery, which was the big thing for me. And then, the camera, everything else is the same. I like the expandable storage. The reason I bought this is expandable storage and the water resistance were just nice touches, I thought. And it comes back to what we talked about last week and what I talked about in an editorial is just that the S6 Edge and the S6 held up so well into this year that I feel like this is a pretty good phone to buy. I had a contract open on my AT&T account, so when I have that open and there's a big phone out, I start to think a bit more about buying it. So, yeah.
Cool. So, is it just the bigger battery that attracted you to the Edge over the S7?
Well, so that's why I picked the Edge. The size was good. So the 5.5 inch screen I like. It's a little smaller, like I said, than the S6 Edge Plus. And the battery was bigger by 600 milliamps. So like 3,000, I think, in the S7, 3,600 in this. So it's been a good deal, and the battery life's awesome. So it was that, but then it was just thinking about the family in general. Like, do I want to even get an S7 or an S7 Edge? And the addition of the micro SD card and the water resistance and all that was enough for me to be like, okay, it's good. Now, I like the G5 too. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. It's coming out in April. I'm not sure that me personally, like we've talked about, this won't affect my review because I'm not going to write the review for myself. But like for me personally, I don't think I would buy those attachments and things like that. I think they're a cool idea, but for the G5, like I just, they're not for me.
And that is one of the hardest things when we're reviewing is that we do have to, disassociate ourselves from the product, because there's been a lot of products that I've reviewed that I've been like, I would never buy this, but I can see where people would.
Yeah. In fact, we actually, yesterday, we had a new product that's coming to you, I think. It was an Amazon Echo. This is just a quick tangent, but it's like an Amazon Echo embedded into this little speaker thing. It's $200. It has like a screen that displays some ink. So like somebody could send you a note to it, and you can keep it in your kitchen. And it has the Echo built in, like I said, or Alexa. And like we were talking, like maybe that's not for us, but some of our readers, might find it really interesting. That's why.
Yeah.
And same thing with the G5. Like actually, the S7 Edge. Even in my conclusion, I tried to find 3 points. Is this worth the upgrade from the S6 for people who had it last year? And I said, maybe not. For the battery life, definitely, but everything else, maybe not. Is this a good phone compared to the competition? Yes, it is. And lastly, did Samsung execute well on what it set out to do? Like, here are the promises. It's water resistant. It's got expandable storage. Does all that work well, right? Yes, it does. So that's why I think it was a good phone. And I couldn't say like, I like it because I bought it. I said it's a great phone and I bought one.
Right.
The other way. So,
and just a quick moment to send kudos to all the video crew.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen our YouTube videos, they're awesome.
The S7 review was handled by Andrew and Niven, and the Edge review was handled by Ron. And I mentioned to John yesterday after those came out, I was like, this is a long ways from you on a coffee table with a MacBook.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew and Niven even had a drone film some of the opening, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, which I asked this, and just so everyone knows, we did register with the FAA.
There you go.
We are licensed for our drone, but I asked that just to be a pain. But yes, we did actually file with the FAA. But that's still crazy to me that everyone. This is the show of tangents. I don't know what's going on.
Anyway. One thing applies to the other.
Exactly. So, here's the thing, and I have not yet touched either of the S7s, but the one thing I'm hearing from so many people, what I'm hearing from so many people is that it's just not that much of an upgrade over last year.
Yeah, well, especially if you're looking at the S6 Edge Plus, which came out in September, that's only 6 months back. It's like a very similar phone. I would not go out and buy this. I mean, unless you really wanted the expandable storage, but it is very similar. If you have the S6 though, it's a pretty big upgrade in the sense that the battery life's that much better, but so was the S6 Edge Plus and the Note 5. And I feel like if you had the S6 and you weren't happy with that, maybe you already bought the Note 5 and the S6 Edge Plus, and so you wouldn't buy this. But that's what's really tough. But I think that also comes back to what we were saying, to even LG's point that like everything's good enough these days, especially when a phone lasts a year. I mean, iPhone 6 Plus to the iPhone 6s Plus, like good enough. That difference not required the upgrade. Neither does this.
And I think that's going to be one of the toughest things, going forward, is that we have gotten to a point where it feels like every phone is good enough.
Yeah. I mean, there's $400 phones that are good enough, right?
Exactly.
Even cheaper.
Exactly. I tell you, the day that Huawei finally decides they're coming to the US, that's going to be interesting.
Well, I mean, you have the 6P and you have unlocked phones from Amazon stuff, but right, if they come big and hard here.
Yeah. I mean, it could... it could shift the entire market, if they're able to keep the pricing, which I don't see why they wouldn't be able to. But yeah, it's an interesting time in phones because as I've said in previous episodes, I have the iPhone 6 Plus. I really don't feel a compelling reason, to run out and get the 7 this year. I mean, yes, we don't know yet what the 7's going to be, and that kind of leads us to our next topic, which was about the rumors. Yeah. Let's just get this case out of the way.
Stupid case. Oh man. This morning, like for the people that comment and listen to the show, like sometimes we have to write news because it's news or it's interesting or because we know our readers like it. Like if you guys are clicking stories and you like it, then we know that, we see it. So I cover these things, and people in the comments, they're often the same people that also listen to the show, we love you, will say like, what the heck is so stupid? And trust me, we're there with you. Sometimes it's very stupid. Like today, there's a leaked silicone case for the alleged iPhone 7 or whatever, an alleged case for the iPhone 7 that doesn't have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And like I said in the opening of this post, like, every rumor, written letter, carrier pigeon, everything out of Apple's supply chains have said no 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So this is just like an additional rumor to add to it all. And it's a case maker. And case makers, worst of all, are famous for getting these wrong. Like we've seen them get it wrong. They've had, what was it, like a couple years ago? It was maybe the iPhone 5 or something. They had the, Casemate got it wrong. And they had these cases on their site. So like the specs and the measurements and all these, the cutouts can often be very, very wrong. But these people make the cases anyway. It probably costs nothing to make a demo case, right? Like especially now that 3D printers are out and stuff, are everywhere. So anyway, case comes out, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack isn't there, and we wrote it up, and that's the rumor of the day. That has been the rumor for 6 months.
So now we've addressed this before on the show, and I think it's worth addressing again because the Slack HQ room got lively discussing the lack of 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's one thing, folks, that we're glad that none of you can see is the editor's room on Slack, because it can get rather raucous, it gets wild sometimes. Anyway. And we were discussing the lack of 3.5 millimeter, and here's what's going to happen. If this is true, Apple's going to come out and go, thanks to our design capabilities, we were able to get the phone this much thinner, and it's going to be wonderful, and you're going to feel so great in the hand. Now, for you to get this and you can still use your old headphones, everyone. All it requires is this dongle, which they won't say the price for, and then you'll be able to use your headphones with no problem.
And the dongle will be $30.
Yeah, the announcement ends, it goes up on their website. It's $30 for this freaking dongle.
Because this is what happened, everybody, with the 30 pin to the Lightning connector switch. They had all these cable adapters for $30, and it's just like, what the heck? They're nickel and diming you. And the other thing is we were talking about this, like, does this need an editorial? And until there's additional evidence, probably not. But it looks like Apple's going to move in this direction, because they're probably going to say use Bluetooth headphones or use the Lightning because it lets us get thinner and there's more bandwidth, so you're going to have higher quality audio. Like, you're going to see this and probably hear about it. That's my guess. But anyway, so my point is, where was my point going? Oh, it doesn't need an editorial, because I think, we don't know yet if that's even going to happen. And, maybe they are going to sell a $30 dongle, but maybe Apple will finally stop that and put it in the box. I mean, here, look, Samsung did this little thing. This is a little adapter that came in the Galaxy S7 box, and all it is just from USB to micro USB. But this is like the size of what it would require. It's probably even smaller for the headphone jack, right? To go from Lightning 3.5 millimeter. Anyway, this was included in the box with a cable that lets you plug one end into the iPhone, one end into your iPhone or Android phone, one into your new S7, and then it'll examine everything on your old phone, all the apps, all the and transfer your content. And if it's an iPhone, in the case that I was just testing it with, it'll recommend apps or similar apps or whatever.
Well, now,
it's a dongle in a box, and that's all. That's all.
Well, and here's a great point, though. So Samsung went out and made this dongle. Fantastic. How many people actually need that dongle? Not that many.
Probably, yeah, probably.
And they're
most
making
people don't really
millions
look
of
that
them.
for. Yeah, and that's all you need to do.
And you know, Apple's going to come along and go, oh, well, you know, we can't include it in every phone.
Yeah.
That's
why they're making more money. But, you know, I don't know. That's kind of the thing that I think consumers hate about Apple, and yet still buy the products, right? Like everybody was so upset because the 30 pin port previously. Why am I getting a call? Project 5's the worst. Okay, so the 30 pin port, you know, like it was on everything. Hotels had their, you know, alarm clocks, and people's houses had all the speakers, and then you like had to go out and you had to buy these like $30 adapters if you wanted to still use them, and even then it wasn't guaranteed.
Right. I really didn't get upset about the whole 30 pin thing because, I mean, I've been around technology long enough to know adapters change. I mean, think about all the variations of SIM cards we've gone through and
right.
SD
I'm just saying
cards.
The fact that they didn't include the adapters was crazy.
What I love, do you remember when you would buy a PC and it came with, you know, a 8-in-1 memory card reader because there were so many memory cards?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, I mean, that sort of stuff happens all the time. The lightning cable switch didn't bother me. It was annoying, but fine.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of a piece of hardware that people have used for years and years is just egregious, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's just, I'm sorry, 3.5 millimeter is the standard, and I think it's silly to, you know, we're going to sacrifice that. And believe me, folks, Apple has a history of doing this. The Ethernet ports are gone from laptops. The optical drives are gone.
Everything is gone on the MacBook except for USB-C.
Yeah. Apple will sacrifice ports for thinness. They're going to do this. It may not be on the iPhone 7, although I think it's going to be. But at some point, they will ditch the 3.5 millimeter.
And then will everybody? I mean, look, I think it's not that big of a deal when you think about Bluetooth headphones these days. They're everywhere. But what about all the people who have bought Apple's products? You know, the Beats headphones, those expensive headphones that are really not that great. Like those they're not coming with the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, and maybe Apple will start providing them. I'm going to guess not. And so you have customers here that bought your headphones, here that bought your phone, and you're not going to give them a way to connect the two for free. That's crazy. Like but that's Apple.
I know. But like you said, people will continue to buy it. I think there's a point where consumers are going to have to push back at Apple, but I don't know what it's going to take to have that happen.
Yeah. Well, in the past we've seen it just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Especially in the case of the MacBook. People are just like, okay, well, I'll buy this adapter and everything will be okay, and I'll keep that in my laptop bag and I don't mind. Where it's like, why would you do that? You know, like, just buy a computer. You know, it's like I want to tell Apple, you know, we could all speak as consumers and say we're not going to buy this product, but people love that product either way. You know,
yeah,
buy Apple things. So do I. I mean, I don't know. I'm just as bad.
Well, it'd be especially painful on the iPad. I mean, the iPad is built specifically. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. The iPad is built for entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, I use it all the time on planes for watching movies. You know, I do not want yet another thing to throw in my computer bag. My computer bag is already bursting when I go through security. You know, I throw in one more dongle and the thing's going to explode.
Yeah. Drives my wife nuts.
There will be charger cables.
Why do you need all this stuff?
Because
I'll get bored on the plane if I don't have it all with me.
I know, it's horrible how much you know, my laptop, my cables, my mouse, my you know, charging cables, my, you know, bag of charging cables, my camera, my Kindle, you know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
God forbid we get bored on a plane.
You should see. I mean, when I on Barcelona and back, like I brought every probably gadget because you know it's like 7 and change there and 8 and change back, 9 hours back, And so I had like the Shield tablet with like the gaming controller, which I actually use on the plane, but I didn't think I would. But I brought the Amazon tablet that I bought. I brought 2 pairs of headphones and like all this stuff, and you end up using like barely any of it. It's just like,
yeah, I know. I always have more stuff, and then what I really love is when I pull out my bag of charging cables, and somebody always goes, "Oh, hey, can I borrow a cable to charge?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. I bring a lot of batteries, all those huge battery packs. The 3DS. I'm just looking around my desk because I took it all out of my bag. Like, here's a Aukey battery I bought. We had a sale on the site. The 3DS. It's just like 20 pounds of gadgets for the plane ride.
Yeah,
anyway,
exactly.
Tangents today.
Yeah, I know, but no, I agree. It's amazing how much stuff we carry with us when we travel. It's ridiculous. And yes, it's a small, I'm sure it's going to be a tiny little adapter, but it's just one more thing for us to carry when we travel. It's just
lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the worst.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Although, if you notice that, I mean, we're getting pretty late in the month and there's no signs of this mysterious iPhone or iPad announcement.
I know. I was just going to say, it was supposed to be about 2 weeks from now, I think. The rumors, I mean, there was one date and then it changed to the other date, and then maybe Apple wasn't going to hold it at all. But the rumor is they were going to have an event for the now called, and this is another thing that's had many names, iPhone SE, right? 5 SE. No, 6 SE, whatever. iPhone SE, that's it. I don't know. The smaller iPhone with an A9 chip. It was going to be there, and then we were also going to have the iPad. Like, I want to call it the iPad Pro Mini.
Yeah,
bigger iPad, or the specs of a bigger iPad and a 9.7 inch, so not quite mini, but smaller than the iPad Pro. I think those were going to be the 2 big highlights, and now it's like, oh, maybe they won't have an event. But you know what Apple does? I mean, it'll announce event, give press a week to book it, and then that's it. And then it'll happen. So who knows? Might happen right after this podcast, for all we know.
Yeah, exactly. It's a complete mystery at this point.
That's going to be, we've talked about this in the past too on the podcast, though. I've always talked about like this little computer that I can work on anywhere, that's just lighter, hopefully lighter than this MacBook, and has better battery life than Surface Pro 3. And I was thinking, well, maybe that's this 9.7 inch iPad. But again, I don't think it's enough to actually do work on. And so I'm most excited now for the Huawei MateBook, which was announced at Mobile World Congress, and it is coming to the U.S. Speaking of Huawei coming to the U.S., Windows 10 computer, and then the Tab Pro S from Samsung, which will be here, I don't know, hopefully sometime this spring. And that one's cool because it'll work with the S7 Edge. So you can use your fingerprint and tap it, and with NFC, log into the computer, which is kind of neat. So those are the 3 laptops on my horizon.
Yeah, I'm really puzzled by the idea that this new iPad may be a smaller Pro. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, but they're saying like it'll have the quad speakers and the A9X processor. So like I think, and maybe the stylus support. So I'm thinking maybe it's just like are they going to call it the Pro, or maybe they just drop that out? I mean, who knows what they end up calling it? But it sounds like it's not going to be like an iPad Air 3 or 4 or whatever the heck we were waiting. What are we waiting for now? 3 at this point? Yeah,
3.
So
yeah, I don't know what happened with the iPad Air series, but as everyone keeps telling us, tablets are dead, and no, they're not. Well,
it's just like we were talking about. People just don't buy them as much, but they still use them.
Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything else on your mind this week, sir?
No. Read our Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge reviews if you hadn't, and again, check out those videos because they're awesome.
Yep. And I just got a tweet from Sachin Bahal that for some reason the questions and the option to ask questions on Hangouts is not showing up. I apologize for that. I did set it to allow questions to be asked, so I'm not quite sure why that is not visible. So I will look into that for next week. But for this week, that is going to bring the show to a close. As always, we do appreciate you joining us. You can find the TechnoBuffalo Show on the iTunes Store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, and we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help the show out. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed, or you can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next week, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of the site. I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Until next week, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.